Have you ever looked up at the night sky and marveled at the infinite expanse above you? Have you gazed at the twinkling stars and felt both impossibly small yet incredibly significant at the same time? In moments like those, the full magnitude of human potential becomes crystal clear. We are each imbued with limitless capacity to dream, to strive, to achieve the unimaginable. And the most powerful realization of all is this: nothing is impossible when you simply refuse to believe it is. I know firsthand the transformative power of acting as if nothing is impossible. There was a time in my life when I felt utterly beaten down by circumstances. Everywhere I turned, obstacles loomed large, casting shadows of doubt and dread over my every aspiration. My dreams felt foolishly out of reach, mirages shimmering in the distance, forever receding beyond the horizon, no matter how determinedly I struggled to draw nearer. But in my darkest hour, I experienced a profound shift in perspective that altered the trajectory of my life forevermore. Lying awake one night, suffocating under the weight of despair, rebellious thoughts sprouted in my mind and took root. A voice, faint but fierce, whispered defiantly, what if I simply chose not to accept that anything is impossible? What if I got up each day and moved through the world as if every barrier could be surmounted, every limitation could be transcended? Every wildest dream could be willed into existence through the sheer power of relentless belief and tireless effort. The initial spark of that idea terrified and exhilarated me. It struck me as foolishly naive, but also breathtakingly liberating. I tentatively decided to try it out to launch a radical experiment in the laboratory of my own life. For one day, I would assume the stance that nothing was beyond my grasp, if only I refused to allow it to be. When I awoke the next morning, I half expected my resolution to dissolve in the sober light of day. But to my amazement, I felt a current of excitement and determination surging through my being. I bounded out of bed, eager to greet the world as a playground of thrilling possibility, rather than a minefield of limitations. I looked in the mirror and regarded the person staring back at me with new eyes undaunted by past failures and present obstacles, eyes ablaze with the conviction that the only constraints that mattered were the ones I chose to accept. That first day, nothing about my circumstances had changed, but everything about my mindset had. And that made all the difference. As I moved through my day, meeting each challenge with the unshakable attitude that a solution could and would be found, I felt my abilities expand to match the scope of my vision. Somehow, through the alchemy of sheer grit and imagination, I accomplished more than I had in the previous month. At every turn, I shocked myself with resourcefulness and resilience I never knew I possessed. Now, I won't claim that I conquered the world or achieved every goal in 24 hours, but what I did do was prove to myself that acting as if nothing is impossible unleashes reserves of tenacity, creativity, and boldness that utterly transform what we are capable of. That first experiment stretched into a week, then a month, then a year of meeting each new day with arms and mind wide open, hungry for opportunities to challenge myself and expand what I believe to be achievable. Bit by bit, I turned my life around. Goals that had seemed hopelessly out of reach drew closer until, to my amazement, I surpassed them. Projects I had only fantasized about tackling began to take shape beneath my hands. Relationships I had resigned myself to letting wither suddenly bloomed with new vitality as I poured my newfound positivity and zest for life into them. And the most miraculous thing of all was this: the more I acted as if nothing was impossible, the more I discovered that nothing truly is when you banish defeat as an option. Obstacles that once would have sent me into a tailspin of anxiety and paralysis became puzzles to easily solve. Risks that would have frozen me in my tracks morphed into thrilling opportunities to bet boldly on myself. The word failure faded from my vocabulary, replaced by learning and growth. Now let me pause here to clarify: acting as if nothing is impossible does not mean recklessly pursuing every whim or ignoring real constraints. It doesn't mean arrogantly assuming you are impervious to hardship or above needing help. What it means is shifting your default assumption from I can find a way. It means opting for curiosity and experimentation over resignation and passivity. It means treating obstacles as challenges to be inventively conquered rather than dead ends to hopelessly shrug at. Just imagine the impact this mindset shift could have in your own life. What dreams have you backburned because you assumed they were impossible for you? What projects have you shied away from because the roadblocks loomed too large in your mind's eye? What relationships have you let languish because you couldn't envision a way to revitalize them? What bold moves have you talked yourself out of because the risk of failure felt too daunting? I want you to entertain the radical notion that none of those things are off limits to you. that with enough ingenuity, effort, and stubborn determination, you can will them into being in some form or another. Will it be easy? Almost certainly not. Will you sometimes fall short or have to reframe your vision? Absolutely. But when you act as if nothing is impossible, you grant yourself the profound gift of infinite possibility. You open the floodgates to a life of exhilarating discovery, mind-bending growth, and the deep fulfillment that comes from continually expanding the circumference of what you believe yourself to be capable of. Now, you may be thinking, that sounds great in theory, but how do I actually put it into practice? How do I genuinely convince myself that nothing is impossible when past experience has taught me otherwise? The answer is this: you start small and you practice relentlessly. You begin by identifying one area of your life where you have been unconsciously boxed in by assumptions of impossibility. Perhaps it's a skill you told yourself you're simply not wired to master, or a dream so audacious you assume it's absurd to voice aloud. Whatever it is, resolve to spend one day acting as if achieving or acquiring it is a foregone conclusion if you simply refuse to think. For that one day, whenever your mind starts to stray toward all the reasons it can't happen, gently but firmly redirect it to exploring all the ways it could. If doubt or fear arises, acknowledge it, then choose to set it aside and proceed as if success is inevitable. Dive headlong into educating yourself, seeking mentors, experimenting with strategies, and course correcting based on feedback. But through it all, never for 1 second entertain the notion that you won't ultimately get where you want to go. At the end of that day, take stock of how the experience felt. Notice how many inches you moved the needle through the power of decisive action and unflinching self-belief. Then the next day, do it again. Expand your ambitions a little further, strive a little harder, stay the course a little longer. Repeat this process day after day, week after week after week, letting your capacity for bold dreaming and tenacious doing grow stronger each time you choose unstoppable over impossible. As you stay this course, you will start to notice something extraordinary. Your assumptions about what is possible will begin to shift on a fundamental level. What once felt like an unattainable fantasy will start to morph into an inevitable future. The gap between your current reality and your most ambitious aspirations will no longer seem like a yawning chasm, but an exhilarating expanse just begging to be crossed one determined stride at a time. But here's the most important part: acting as if nothing is impossible isn't just about monumental achievements and marquee moments. It's a way of moving through each day that fills even the most mundane moments with a crackle of energy and purpose. When you wake up each morning and resolve to greet the day as a landscape of boundless potential just waiting to be seized, you usher in an almost alchemical change in how you show up in every arena of your life. Suddenly, that daunting conversation with your boss becomes an opportunity to advocate fearlessly in your work. That volunteer position you've hemmed and hawed about pursuing becomes a chance to put your unique gifts in service of a cause that sets your soul ablaze. That long-abandoned hobby becomes a thrilling portal to rediscovering a dormant passion and stretching yourself in exhilarating new directions. In ways big and small, choosing to act as if the impossible is in fact possible infuses your life with an unshakable sense of meaning, adventure, and empowerment. It grants you agency to design a life that crackles with the kind of excitement and fulfillment that comes from continually exploring the furthest reaches of your potential. And it emboldens you to leave an indelible mark on the world by daring to imagine and work toward outcomes others dismissively wave off as implausible. But perhaps most importantly of all, living as if nothing is impossible has a radiating effect that extends far beyond the confines of your own life. When you shine your light of relentless positivity and tenacious resolve, you grant others permission to do the same. Your courage in the face of naysayers and daunting odds emboldens those around you to bet boldly on themselves in ways they never dared to before being inspired by your example. Just think about the heroes throughout history who dared to act as if the impossible was inevitable. The inventors and innovators who refused to accept that human flight, instant global communication, and life-saving medical breakthroughs were unattainable pipe dreams. The activists and revolutionaries who stared down the most intractable social injustices and entrenched power structures, unwaveringly certain that a better world could be forged through the crucible of their tireless efforts. The explorers and adventurers who ventured into uncharted physical and intellectual terrain, securing the knowledge that what awaited them would be a revelation rather than a dead end. These are the kind of people who leave a scorching mark on history, not because they were endowed with superhuman abilities, but because they made the choice each and every day to act as if nothing that mattered was beyond their grasp. And in making that choice, they expanded the realm of the possible for all who bore witness to their unwavering faith and tireless striving. So I ask you this, what would your life, your community, our world look like if more of us made the decision to act as if nothing was impossible? If we collectively traded cynicism for hope, hesitation for grit, and self-doubt for self-belief, I firmly believe it would be unrecognizable in the best and most exhilarating of ways. We would see more people daring to pursue passions and tackle challenges they previously dismissed as outside their scope. We would see teams, organizations, and societies collaborating to find ingenious solutions to problems once considered intractable. We would see a world in which impossible was struck from the cultural lexicon, replaced by a shared sense of heady possibility and a bias toward bold action in service of the greater good. But that kind of tectonic shift starts with the individual, with you making the revolutionary choice to act as if nothing is impossible in your own life. It starts with you getting up each day and moving through the world as if every barrier can be surmounted, every limitation can be transcended, every wildest dream can be willed into existence through the alchemical combination of relentless belief and tireless effort. So as we come to the end of our time together today, I want to leave you with both a challenge and an invitation. The challenge is this: identify one thing you have previously considered impossible for you, and spend the next week acting as if its achievement is a foregone conclusion if you simply refuse to quit. Wake up each morning and greet the day as a landscape of boundless potential just waiting to be seized. Approach each obstacle as a puzzle to be faithfully solved rather than an immovable roadblock. Choose curiosity, experimentation, and determined action over resignation and passivity. Then, as you start to see the tectonic plates of your own self-concept shift, extend an invitation to others to join you in this exhilarating new way of being. Share your stories of audacious dreaming and tenacious striving, and in doing so, create an epidemic of inspiration. Encourage those around you to pinpoint their own impossibles and get to work transmuting them into inevitabilities through the forge of grit and imagination. Collaborate with your fellow humans to unleash the full might of our collective ingenuity on the challenges we face as a species. Together, there is truly nothing we cannot accomplish if we simply refuse to believe that anything worthwhile is beyond our grasp. An unrecognizable world, one of boundless potential and staggering beauty, awaits us on the other side of that choice. So let us go out into the world and act accordingly, as if the impossible is simply one more exhilarating invitation to expand the circumference of what we believe ourselves and our world to be capable of. This will not be easy. It will demand everything we have, all of our courage, all of our resilience, all of our imagination. There will be times when the temptation to succumb to doubt and resignation will be almost overwhelming. There will be moments when the obstacles seem insurmountable and the roadblocks impassable. But it is in those crucible moments that we must dig deepest and remember the revolutionary truth that nothing is impossible when we simply refuse to believe it is. It is in those moments that we must choose with every fiber of our being to keep going, keep striving, keep believing. And it is in those moments when we feel most assailed by limitation that we must lean on each other, draw strength from our shared purpose and unflinching faith in what's possible. We must become an unshakable community of resilience and resolve, secure in the knowledge that together we are unstoppable. So let us go out into the world today and every day, choosing with each thought, each word, each deed to act as if nothing is impossible. Let us greet the dawn with unfettered hope and unshakable determination, eager to discover just how far we can expand our vision of the achievable. Let us pursue our dreams with a fervor bordering on recklessness and pick each other up and dust each other off every time the journey brings us to our knees. If we can live this way, heart wide open, arms locked in solidarity, I believe to the depths of my soul that the world as we know it will be rendered gloriously unrecognizable. Unrecognizable in the audacity of what we dare to attempt, in the beauty of what we create, in the love that binds us together as architects of the impossible. So go forth and make your mark secure in the knowledge that you are standing on the shoulders of giants who once dared to stare down the impossible and won. You are the next link in that unbroken chain of revolutionary thinkers and unstoppable doers. The impossible is simply waiting for you to make it inevitable through the alchemy of your belief. Here's to a life lived as if nothing is impossible, a life of unbridled courage, staggering achievement, and the electrifying joy of perpetually discovering just how powerful you really are. May we know it, may we claim it, may we never settle for anything less. The impossible is simply the next frontier, but we were born to be pioneers.